Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. Today we're going to be going over the last of the defensive tree for the Paladin, and that is the Salvation Aura. Yes, the Salvation Aura. It's not exactly this aura that everybody's super enticed to level up to its maximum, but it is an aura that you do have to level up to the maximum if you're using specific abilities. So Salvation is actually the synergy for quite a few different abilities within the tree. First off, it gives 10% fire damage to Holy Fire. It gives 7% cold damage to Holy Freeze, and it gives 4% lightning damage per level to Holy Shock. So you get a pretty big bonus damage per level. Obviously, times 20 for 20 skill points for the Holy X auras. On top of that, it also affects Vengeance at 2% elemental damage per level, which don't be confused because 2% seems like it's not a lot, but it's 2% per element. So it's actually 2, 2, 2, which is 2, 4, 6. So it's actually 6% total increase in damage for each single point, which is actually pretty powerful. It's not going to be more powerful than the individuals at 10%, but it's actually pretty strong in the way that it beefs up Vengeance. Now, Salvation is definitely a one-point wonder. It's one of those skills that no matter what, even if you're just a little low-level paladin at level 30 and you want to have something for defensive purposes to save your life in a dire situation, it's definitely going to be something that's useful. It doesn't quite do as well as Resist Fire, Resist Lightning, and Resist Cold, which are better for the individual resistances. And the reason why it's better for the individual resistances is because it will bring your resistance up to a much higher level. So Resist Lightning has a maximum increase, which is a passive of 10% when you max it out, which means that instead of going to 75 cap, you go to 85 cap. When you utilize the ability, like for instance, if I put Resist Lightning on, that 85 goes to 95, which is actually pretty darn sweet, and makes it so that Resist Lightning, Resist Fire, and Resist Cold are far better for individual protection. So if you're trying to protect yourself against gloams, for instance, Resist Lightning is going to be the superior choice over Salvation in that situation because you're trying to protect yourself against a specific element. But if you're in a situation where you just need to beef up everybody's resistances, Salvation is definitely the superior choice because it does beef up all three resistances, not poison. Now, it does work in tandem with the maximum resistance increases from these abilities. So if you do have, for instance, 20 points in Resist Lightning, and you are running the 10% passive, you will still get the 10% passive, which is very nice. In my case, I'm utilizing a couple pieces of equipment which are giving me increases to maximum. So it's making it look a little bit different than it would otherwise. But as you can see, I'm at 85% fire, 85% lightning, and 85% cold. And this is because of the 10% max increases from these individuals. And while Salvation does give me a very nice capped resistance on all of these, and makes an absolutely excellent one-point wonder, by the way, especially considering you don't actually have to put any other points into anything. Unlike with Redemption, you would have to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points just to get it 1-point wondered. Salvation literally is a 1-point wonder. It only requires 1 point. It doesn't have any prerequisites. Like, you literally just throw 1 point in it and you're fine. As far as helpfulness goes, it can be stacked with the other auras. So if you are running, say, like Uber Mephisto in Uber Tristram, and he has, Conviction, of course, which is going to strip down your resistances. And let's say you had 2 Paladins in your group. One could be running Salvation, and the other one could be running Resist Lightning. And you would get a massive increase in both your all resistances, as well as your individual lightning resistance, and the increase in the cap, and they would stack very nicely. So imagine, if you will, you have 4 Paladins. One is running Salvation, and the other 3 are running Resist Lightning, Resist Cold, and Resist Fire. You would literally have just unlimited protection against all 4 elements, or all 3 elements, and then you could have a 5th Paladin running Cleansing to remove the curses and the poisons. And your group would basically be immortal at that point because you would have all the resistances that you would need. The curses would be unable to affect you, and the poisons wouldn't touch you either. And 95% to all resistances between all of the resist pluses would be absolutely insane. I've always really particularly liked the way the aura looks. Even in the older game, I always thought the aura looked really pretty. Just lots of sparkly RGB rainbow stuff coming out of my feet like I got a computer from 2015. 2015 was like the year of RGB, and everybody had a freaking like rainbow something in their computer. And these days, I think the RGB craze has died down a little bit, but this was back in 2000. We had the RGB Paladin, and it still looks pretty, but I think it looked a little bit cooler in the older version, a little bit more dramatic, and I don't know, just silly. Overall, though, using salvation costs you offensiveness. So whenever you have to switch to salvation, unfortunately, you're going to lose whatever aura you were using. So, you know, if you're a conviction paladin or a fanaticism paladin or concentration hammered in or whatever, switching to salvation does come at a very stark cost of essentially killing your damage output. And it is rather unfortunate, which is why having multiple paladins in a group that can cover some of those auras is actually pretty cool. So say, for instance, you had two Hammerdins. Well, you don't need to run concentration twice. It doesn't stack. So having concentration on one Hammerdin and then the other Hammerdin running salvation is actually a very solid combo. And in fact, in any situation where you have overlapping auras, that's the time when the paladins can come together. They can figure out exactly what they need to do to coordinate better and utilize specific auras to help out whatever the situation may be. And in fact, that's what we did in our most recent video. If you haven't checked it out, we did an 8-man paladin run, or paladin walk through normal difficulty all the way to hell, and we coordinated auras. Everybody used a different aura. Some people used cleansing, some people used sanctuary. We had fanaticism, concentration, might, you know, everything that we needed. Vigor, like freaking, it was ridiculous. We even used the mercenaries with the prayer and the defiance and the, you know, the thorns and all that. And we had all 6 mercenaries. We had an enchant merc. We had a static merc. I mean, we were just rolling in auras to the point where literally everybody in the group was rocking the most ridiculous number of auras that ever could be imagined. And nobody really had any trouble. We were literally running around like Speedy Gonzales, murdering everything with extreme proficiency and doing so with just extreme tankiness and regeneration. Just, it was absolutely amazing. Like, if you haven't checked out that video, that live stream of us doing the 8-man paladin run, I would definitely recommend it. It was a freaking blast. There's really not a lot more to say about salvation, except for to point out the fact that it, again, does not increase poison resistance. So don't forget that. Salvation will not protect you against poison, and some people forget that, and they're like, oh, you got all resistances, and yeah, but my poison's still negative 3,000. And they're like, oh man, I forgot salvation doesn't increase poison resistance. And yeah, no, it doesn't. Also, if you guys haven't noticed, conviction also doesn't reduce poison resistance. So not only does conviction not reduce poison resistance, but salvation does not increase poison resistance. It seems like the paladin just completely forgot about poison with the exception of cleansing, which granted, cleansing is an amazing ability. It's freaking ridiculous. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and keep watching.